Aryna Sabalenka extends record which looks almost impossible to beat in Australian Open final. Aryna Sabalenka is still in possession of a record despite her defeat in the Australian Open final. Sabalenka was beaten by Elena Rybakina in the final of the Australian Open, despite leading the deciding set 3-0. Despite being the clear world number one, Sabalenka has now lost 3 of her last 4 major finals. While she was once again unable to add to her Grand Slam tally, Sabalenka does still hold one record which seems impossible for any other player to catch right now. Aryna Sabalenka continues impressive record during Australian Open final. Although she was beaten by Rybakina, Sabalenka did win the second set of their match to avoid a straight sets defeat. This is actually just the second time in Rybakina's 7 wins over Sabalenka where the match has finished in 3 sets. However, this should not be a surprise to those that are aware of Sabalenka's incredible Grand Slam record of not losing in straight sets, which she has now extended to 110 matches. Sabalenka has beaten many of her opponents in straight sets, as she did in 6 of her 7 matches at the Australian Open this year, but she has not been on the other end of that for some time. Showcasing just how impressive this is, the active WTA player who is closest to Sabalenka in this statistic is Naomi Osaka, who has not lost a straight sets match at a Grand Slam in the last 12 matches. Some of the other players sitting behind Sabalenka include Australian Open champion Rybakina, 10, and Marta Kostyuk, who was the last player to beat Aryna Sabalenka in straight sets at a Grand Slam. It has now been over 5 years since Sabalenka last lost in straight sets at a Grand Slam, which came at the 2020 US Open. This was when Sabalenka was just 22 years old, facing her compatriot and 2-time Grand Slam champion Victoria Azarenka in the second round. Experience won out on this occasion, as Azarenka, who did not play the Australian Open this year, beat Sabalenka 6-1, 6-3. Sabalenka has not lost in straight sets at a Grand Slam since then, showing just why she is the world number one. The next time this record will be put to the test is at the French Open, where Sabalenka lost to Coco Gauff in the final last year. The impossible serve, how Aryna Sabalenka rewrote reality at the Australian Open. When the sky above Rod Laver Arena turned that characteristic shade of twilight blue, the hush of anticipation slipping quietly over the crowd like velvet, everyone knew they were about to witness something extraordinary. Not just another Grand Slam final, not another spectacle of athletic endurance, but a moment that would expand the very definition of possibility in sport. It was Aryna Sabalenka's name on every set of lips, on every scoreboard, on every hopeful breath. Her journey to this final had already been the stuff of legend. Fierce, electric, relentless. Yet nothing had prepared the world for what was about to unfold. A record so monumental, so improbable that it would feel, at first, like fiction. The context of greatness. In tennis, records are whispered among fans like secret runes, numbers, streaks, and feats passed down through eras. Some records invite admiration, others awe. But there had always been a barrier at the Australian Open. A record so untouched, so breathtaking, that it seemed sculpted from another realm of possibility itself. For years, no player, man or woman, had ever dominated an Australian Open final in the way Sabalenka was preparing to. Grand Slam finals are pressure cookers where legends are made and dreams are broken. The champions who walked away with titles did so by inches, by moments, by courage forged in the white-hot heat of competition. Yet there was an undercurrent, a growing belief that Sabalenka was not just here to contest, but to reshape. Arrival, the calm before the storm. The movement around the arena was electric, yet paradoxically serene. Fans from across the globe, clad in Belarusian flags, tennis paraphernalia, handmade banners, and eager smiles, sensed something approaching that wasn't just skill or athletic excellence but destiny. Sabalenka emerged from the tunnel with that familiar intensity in her gaze. People often talk about athletes having a look, the focused eyes, the barely contained energy. But with Sabalenka, it was different. Her presence carried a quiet thunder, as if the storm had already begun inside her, and now she simply walked into it. Her opponent, too, was stellar, A worthy rival with a history of brilliance and Grand Slam success. But this final was about one thing. A record that shimmered in the collective imagination, now within reach. The record that seemed impossible. No player in the Open era, no matter how gifted or determined, had ever won an Australian Open final losing fewer than 2 games across both sets. Not 4 games. Not 5. This was more than dominance. It was perfection in motion, an almost philosophical achievement, the kind that invites tennis analysts to write thick volumes and fans to argue late into the night. To win a Grand Slam final by such a margin would mean more than victory. It would be a statement about the nature of greatness itself. Sabalenka, entering the match, was not merely chasing a title. She was chasing an idea. The idea that human limits are meant to be expanded. First set, controlled fire. From the first serve, the tension could be cut with a blade. Sabalenka's first strike, a booming serve that seemed to echo like thunder, won the first point. And then the second. And then, with relentless precision, the third. Her pace was fierce, but what stunned onlookers was her calm. Each stroke was measured beauty, each movement purposeful poetry. There was no flurry without purpose, no shot without intention. Her opponent tried, with grit and tactical ingenuity, to stay within the rally, but Sabalenka was already writing her own chapters. 15-0, ace down the tee. 30-0, a forehand smash that seemed to dissolve into light. 40-0, a service winner that rippled through the stands like a chord struck on a cathedral organ. And just like that, first set, 6-0. The crowd erupted, not out of shock, but awe, a collective recognition that this was more than tennis, this was history unfolding. Second set, the art of relentless mastery. Writers and commentators often use the word momentum. But in this second set, Sabalenka redefined what momentum could mean. Her opponent tried to rebound, to find footholds in the points. A couple of games showed sparks of resistance. A deep return here, a clever drop shot there. For a brief moment, the crowd held its breath. Maybe, just maybe, the record might slip away. Then came the pivotal rally. A long exchange, 40 strokes of blistering intensity. Sabalenka danced across the court, forehand, backhand, slice, drop, volley, a symphony of motion. And when the final ball arced over the net, it landed just inside the line. Game point. A collective gasp, then thunderous applause. 6-0, 6-0. It was done. Not just a victory. Not just a title. An impossible reality.